Hi, everyone. I'm your host, Dave Sands. Welcome to the Food Origins podcast. I'll be talking to people about their unique stories with food. And as a quick reminder, the restaurants and gear talked about on each episode can be found on my website, foodoriginspodcast.com. I appreciate your support. And thanks for listening. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Food Origins podcast. Today, my guest is Sebastian. She's the owner of Treatbot Karaoke ice cream truck, along with her husband Ryan, out of San Jose, California. They're also known for establishing a food gathering event called Moveable Feast, where a lot of food trucks get together all in one spot on particular nights of the week. I enjoyed getting to know Christine a little bit more. We go way back. We went to the hotel and restaurant program at City College of San Francisco together, and we've known each other ever since. And we connected over her new business, which is going to be O'Brien's Candy Shop, which will be turned into an ice cream parlor that is inside the Old Pacific Hotel in History Park in San Jose that's been there since 1868. Really cool learning about her process, a lot of ups and downs. I get pretty emotional at the end of this one because we talked about pursuing our dreams and like I've been doing with this podcast. So I appreciate everybody's support. We get into, some really cool flavors that she's got from the ice cream. So she's looking forward to creating some really cool stuff. So be on the lookout. I will put all the info in the show notes and be sure to check her out. I appreciate everybody for listening. And as you know, started this podcast a while back, and it's been quite the process. And appreciate everybody's support. So spread the word as much as you can. Leave a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify. Appreciate it. Thanks for listening. Boom, we're rolling. Hi, Christine.
Hey.
Thanks for coming on. I'm here with Sebastian, and she owns Treatbot.
Whoop, whoop.
And appreciate you coming on and taking our time. And like I was telling you right out the bat, we're probably at the coolest location I've been to so far.
Yes.
Why don't you tell us where we're at and then kind of give us a little background on yourself.
Okay, cool. So we are at the cool location of our new spot here in San Jose. It's called O'Brien's, and we are currently inside O'Brien's, which is a replication of the original O'Brien's, which was started in 1863. It was the first ice cream shop west of Detroit, and
wow.
They kept serving ice cream up until the 50s. And that's when O'Brien's actually closed. And then 20 years later, this replication was made here at History Park in San Jose.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And where are you from originally?
I am originally from South San Francisco. My parents are from the Philippines. And so I grew up eating lots of Filipino food, but also a lot of American food too. Big mix. Filipino food was the central part of our family, as most Filipinos will say. And we love by making you food. Like, are you hungry? That's the first thing that I would ask.
For sure, right? If you come over, you're like, you better be hungry, even if you ate already. You're like, you gotta have something,
right?
And I think I've known a lot of families, and there's always food, right? There's always food somewhere, and there's always a pot of rice, maybe.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely, always rice. And so yeah, I think that I grew up really loving the food and loving the culture as a result. My grandma was a caterer, in-home caterer. Because she came here and she was retired to come and help, with the family. Because my mom worked all the time and so did my dad. So she was always cooking these big trays of pancit and lumpia, and she made all kinds of, special things like a chicken relleno where like she would literally debone the whole chicken and then grind up the meat and then put in like whatever seasoning and then restuff the chicken and make it look like it had never been opened before. It was amazing.
Oh, wow. That's really cool.
So there were a lot of things that she did. She did that with fish also, a fish relleno. We call it relleno. And those are like huge. I remember her having these giant like woks and cauldrons and stuff where she would be like mixing things. And I didn't realize how strong she was until I offered to do it. And she's like, no, you can't do it. And I was like, no, I can do it. And then when I would do it, I would only be able to do it for 30 seconds because it just took a lot of arm power, arm strength. So she was my inspiration for what I did and do for my career now. Yeah,
and I was going to ask, is that your kind of foray into cooking? Was your grandmother?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. She was my inspiration for sure.
That's awesome.
Dedicate my career beginnings to her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the exposure gives you a lot of wide variety. Is there anything you didn't like growing up?
Yeah.
I always ask.
It was this dish called pinakbet. I had a love-hate relationship with it because I loved everything in it except for the bitter melon.
Okay.
So in it,
you got to describe that for us.
Basically it's like a stew with shrimp paste and pork bits like pork belly, and then like the Chinese long bean, eggplant, okra, and then bitter melon.
Bitter melon, yeah.
So I loved everything about it except the bitter melon. So every time I would eat it, I would just spit out the the bitter melon pieces. So that I didn't like, but I actually really love it now. I don't know why, but the past, I would say maybe, I don't know, 10 years or something like that, I crave it for some reason.
I mean, I've had it too. It's an acquired taste, right?
Absolutely. It's bitter, right?
I think, I hate to say, but as we get older, we like things, we can adjust to things that are more bitter.
Right.
That have less flavor, but they have, their reason for being there because they add to the palate and the profile, if you drink coffee now, coffee was terrible when I first tried it. I was like, I can't believe my dad drinks this stuff. Yeah. Especially he drinks it black, and I'm just like, ooh, it's just dirt water. I mean, kind of is.
Pretty much.
Kind of is, but that bitter thing, you're just like, what? It's not sweet. It doesn't have pleasant.
Smells good.
It smells good. Yeah, for sure.
Horrible.
But now I absolutely love it now.
I like to cover it with lots of milk and sugar or make it into an ice cream.
Yeah. Oh, well, we're going to get into ice cream very soon. So if you guys don't know, me and Christine go pretty far back. We went to culinary school together.
Yes.
At City College of San Francisco's hotel and restaurant program.
Yeah, over 20 years ago.
Over 20 years ago. What? And what's great about the program, it's a 2-year program. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to get into that too. How was your experience in it? And tell us about the program. I mean, I know I enjoyed it. I got a lot out of it. Of course, you did too. But tell us your experience with it, and then what happened after that.
So the stereotypical thing, I guess, about Filipinos Filipino women would be that you become a nurse, right?
Yeah.
So I thought, well, that's my fate, and I'm going to be a nurse. And but I remember, grading papers and going to my mom clinicals at Chinese Hospital in San Francisco, and I was like, I don't think I want to do this, But when you get to that age, you're like, well, what am I going to do with my life? I thought, well, maybe I'll just have to surrender to that. But it wasn't my cup of tea. And I took a cooking class at City College, and the guy in the class was like, hey, I did the hotel and restaurant management program. You would love it. You're great at cooking, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, really? So that was the introduction to the hotel and restaurant management program. And it was the best time of my life in school. I loved it. I was like, this is what I want to do with my life. I want to be surrounded by people that love food as much as I do.
Yeah.
So that's what it was like. And friendships were formed. And I met you guys. And Isa and Janina and whatnot. So, and Gary, they were like my like best buds, while we were in school and after. And so after culinary school, it was tough to try and get jobs in a restaurant. However, I stumbled upon something called traveling chefs.
Okay.
So I can't remember the name of the company.
Let me backtrack one second. Where did you do an internship? Did you have to do an internship?
Oh, yes. I did my internship at Greens.
Oh, very cool.
Yes, it was very cool. So I think after that, I knew that that's what I wanted.
Okay, awesome. What an awesome place.
It was amazing.
And I did mine at Frengal with Gerald Haragoyan.
Nice.
Chef Haragoyan. So,
nice.
Yeah, shout out to Chef Haragoyan. He owns Piper Rod in the city still.
Oh, cool.
So he's swapped that restaurant for Piper Rod. Yeah.
Okay, I'll have to
Very
go
cool.
and visit.
Greens, awesome. Mm-hmm. Okay, and then you said you moved on to a traveling chef company. Yeah.
So what they normally do is if their chefs are out like at the corporate kitchens or for catering companies, they would send me to those locations. So some of them would be satellite kitchens, and then some of them would be real kitchens.
Okay.
So it was a huge learning, turning point for me as a chef, because I had to adapt to each place, and every place was different. Their resources were all different. Staff was all different, so I had to adapt every place I went. So at first, it was a lot of anxiety.
Yeah. What kind of food were you making?
Generally, cafeteria food.
Sandwiches and salads and stuff?
Sandwiches, salads,
Soup.
Pizzas, and then they would have their like soup du jours and main entrees for the day and whatnot. So, I mean, I learned a lot working as a traveling chef.
Yeah, and that gives you that kind of the unknown, like knowing that you don't know what you're gonna get when you get to this kitchen. What tools you have, what produce is coming in. Right,
and I mean, generally, they would have the basics, but then sometimes, like you would have kind of nothing, you know, and you just it honed my skill to be resourceful.
Very cool. Awesome. And then where'd you go from there?
Then I kind of shifted, and my mom was like, still wanting me to be in the healthcare field somehow. So she said, "Oh, they have this nutrition assistant program at City College. You should try it." And so I was like, "Okay, I'll give it a try. I'll still keep working." But I did that, and then so I did shift, and I started working in for a nonprofit. And basically, what I did was I audited in-home daycares to make sure that they were serving healthy food, but also to make sure that those daycares were clean and they didn't have too many kids, right, and whatnot, and just overall, like a healthy environment.
Yeah.
And I loved that job. I really, really loved it because I got to be with kids and I got to teach them about still food, but in a healthier way, like encouraging them to eat fruits and vegetables and whatnot. So that was great. And then I got pregnant with my son, who's going to be 13 in a few days.
Oh my goodness. Awesome. Yeah.
And then we decided that I was going to stop working after that. Cause I had some, a lot of postpartum like issues. So it was really, really difficult to go back to work.
Okay.
And then that's actually when Treatbot was born.
Yeah. And this is about 2009, if I'm correct,
yes.
right? Okay.
Yes. And at that time, there was a recession and things were very cheap. People were selling things to make money. Yeah. So we kind of capitalized on that. And food trucks were up and coming at that time. And everyone was doing fusion this and fusion that, like Korean, Mexican. And
that's right around the food truck startup for sure.
And so we were like, well, no one's doing dessert, so let's do dessert. And we like ice cream, and one of our inspirations to do ice cream was a shop in Berkeley that doesn't exist anymore, which I'm very sad about.
No.
It's called EC. Do you remember EC?
EC? No, I don't think so.
So good. I think it was
What made that your inspiration?
Alice Waters. I think.
Oh, did she have a part in that too?
I think she had a part in that.
You know,
if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
And or like someone that had worked there. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But every time we would go to Berkeley, we're like, this is amazing. And like I'd like to do this someday. So that was kind of like the inspiration for doing dessert.
Okay.
Yeah, and then Ryan and I were talking about, what are we going to name the business, and we were just taking a walk and like, oh, like we like this ice cream and that ice cream. And okay, so ice cream is a treat. And then, Silicon Valley is, very techy and robotish, So, okay, we'll have a treat robot. We'll call it Treatbot. And then it just stuck.
It just stuck, yeah. And it works for sure.
And then when we told some of our best friends about the concept and the idea, they were joking. They said, "Hey, why don't you put a karaoke machine on the truck?"
That's right.
And we're like, "Oh yeah, that totally fits with our culture, and whatnot." And so. At first it was a joke, and then it became a reality.
That's
and
funny.
It became part of like what we are. So we became Treatbot, the karaoke ice cream truck.
Yeah. And then was it, did you start parking it on the street first? Because my introduction, my introduction to it was, the gold truck inside San Pedro Square.
Sure.
And then I found out you owned it. And I was like, holy crap, Christine owns it. But was it always there, or did you start out on the street and doing events and stuff? How did it get started?
So we didn't do like the normal like ice cream truck, like music and all that kind of stuff. At that time, social media was pretty new, and you could promote anything on social media. And like, if you knew the right people that knew about it, like they would promote it and it would blow up. Yeah.
Twitter, Instagram, whatever. You just put your location and people just show up.
Yeah. So that's what happened.
Yeah. Okay.
With Treatbot. So we were in it all like at the right time.
Yeah. Okay.
And so, we did some public events, and then we also did catering. And then in the whole gaining experience and like working with other food trucks, we're like, well, why don't we do like a food truck gathering? So that was my husband's idea.
Yeah.
And then that started another business that, we own called Moveable. And so we had this giant food truck gathering, and there were like 10,000 people that came.
Okay.
And of course, like at the time it was new and everyone was excited, and then it was like too good to be true in a sense, because what happened was there were people that came, and then the food trucks ran out of food, and, people were upset, but we could see that there was a need for that in the community.
Yeah.
So that kind of that was the start of our second business.
Okay.
Movable Feast.
You guys have Movable Feast. Okay. I'm well aware of them. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. And
awesome.
Then that morphed into working with San Jose Made, which is they curate local makers. And people who make their own clothing or art,
crafts, stuff.
Candies, you name it, And we worked with them for a long time to add an element of
It's more artisans.
retail.
Retail.
Retail artisan to our events. So we would have these makers at our events, and then also the food trucks. And then later on, we added San Jose Jazz to our events too.
Oh, cool.
So, so it was a whole experience, so yeah. So we've been doing that for a while, and then after that, what we would do is we basically take the spaces and then create an event.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that created a buzz, and different cities would call us and say, hey, can you take this spot and revitalize it? Or different companies would call us and say, hey, can you do this for us at our new location?
Yeah.
And revitalize it, or get the people excited for us to be there and whatnot. So it's also become a consulting firm for things like that.
Oh, like that entire situation, like going to a spot and just popping up a food and retail area.
Right, and making it like semi-permanent or even permanent. There's a location downtown. It's called Moment.
Okay.
And basically, what they did is they cut out a piece of the parking structure there, and they added a few spaces for retail for our makers. And so there's rotating makers that go into that space.
Oh, really cool.
Yeah. And now we leased a new building in Japantown in San Jose, and we're going to have another Moment location there as well for our makers.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
I like that because as you know, Portland is known for having pretty much semi or permanent food truck parks where those trucks don't move for the most part. They're there. I haven't been there in a while, but I know friends have just gone up there, and they're like, yeah, there's like a corner lot, and there's 7 or 8 food vendors. You could say vendors because they're not necessarily trucks. They're cabooses, they're old trailers, they're whatever. They've designed their cooking vessel out of, is basically what you can call it. But you've seen it on a bunch of shows, but it's there all the time.
Yes.
It's not like, you go there and you're like, I'm not sure if that truck is going to be there today. No, it's like, and then that allows a lot of them to eventually start a brick and mortar, or they can have some consistency, as like some of them have gone on and opened sauces or full restaurants, and all because they were working out of a little trailer. Right. They were given a chance to stay there pretty much all the time. Yeah. And that can be tough if you have to keep moving around, but that's good that you guys are providing a space for that to be there, because that's what all these trucks and vendors want. Right. Yeah. So we did go to Portland for that purpose of for research, and then we also went to Canada to visit the night market. Okay. There, just because that was inspiration for our evening events. We call them night markets here. Yeah. So we've been doing a lot of stuff. I mean, at the San Jose flea market, they asked us to build out a new section where the BART is connected to the flea market. Okay. So when you get off the BART, then you come into this beer garden and food truck, market and whatnot. And then we have all our makers there too. And also the vendors at the flea market that wish to be open can be open as well. Oh, yeah. That's great. Yeah. So it's not just this empty space. No. So Treatbot was the beginning, and it just blossomed into a lot of other different things. That's really cool. And then we'll get into Treatbot more heavily, but you got some travel stuff for us, like maybe some good food stories anywhere? Oh, yes. So I will say that when we went to Mexico City a few years ago, my son was maybe about 5. And every place that we went to, the food was very inexpensive, but amazing. It didn't matter if you went to a food stall or if you went to a high-end restaurant. The food was just amazing. Our minds were blown. We're like, why is the food so good? Everywhere we went.
And I don't think the only place that we had bad food was our last meal. And it was supposed to be this fancy cafe, and and the food was not good. It was actually, my dish was actually I think it was rancid.
Oh,
And
that's terrible.
I was like, man, we paid so much for this. You know, like we should have just gone to the corner over there and gotten some tacos or whatever.
Why do you think that is? I always attest to good ingredients, a lot of it handmade, and they're keeping it super simple, and then perfect execution. That's kind of like my kind of couple things. When you see something super simple like a taco, right? Like, why is it so good? Why do you think it's so good?
We were talking about that, and we couldn't figure it out. We were like, maybe because the produce is right there. We don't know. We just couldn't figure it out because everything was, like you said, perfectly executed. Like Ryan had chilaquiles for the first time, and he was like, "What is this? This is amazing."
Yeah.
And like simple things like raspados, like it was like awesome. It was just like everything was just so on point.
Yeah.
Like it was just perfect.
Did you have a favorite there while you were there?
Funny enough, there was an Italian restaurant that we went to, and the food there was amazing. I don't even remember everything that we had there, but it was, a fancy restaurant, but nothing we had there was bad. It was just, everything was perfection. Like the temperature of the food, the flavor profiles, everything was amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah. I wish I could remember the name of the restaurant, but it was so long ago.
Well, maybe we'll look it up, put it in the show notes. Because people are going to be asking me that. Where else? Any other cool spots?
Well, EC was definitely a highlight, but they're not there anymore.
Yeah, EC is it owner, I think is Mary Canales is what it says. I was just reading into it, but unfortunately closed in 2018, I think. Yeah, after 12 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of right before everything.
Let's see. There's a place in LA that I'm gonna say is like my favorite boba spot.
We can get into some local spots. Do you got some local spots? Yes. Yeah, let's get into those since we're in the heart of Silicon Valley, which has a lot. And then I'm sure you have your favorites. So I'd love to hear what your favorites are.
So I'm gonna give you all the hole in the wall spots that are my favorites.
Ooh,
so
sounds good.
Hunglan shout out to Hunglan. They are my favorite banh mi spot. And they have all kinds of other goodies, like in a hot table there. And then they also sell duck and roast duck and roast chicken. And then they have all the, lovely things that you can buy like on the side, like
already made, like ready to go.
Ready to made
the to-go's, nice.
Yeah, so there's like a myriad of things that you can buy, and then also the salads and all the che in the refrigerated section.
Mm-hmm.
Candies. They do also cafe suda, and it's just my favorite. And then favorite pho spot would be Pho E. That's on Capitol Expressway.
Okay.
That's our favorite spot. And for pho and for, let's see what else. Oh, tacos. It's Tacos Los Tres Reyes. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And that is our favorite spot. Like it started off as just like a trailer in basically like a parking lot, and then they ended up buying like a building like in that parking lot. And opening up a shop there.
Is there something that you like there that's really good? That's your favorite?
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
I think they do an excellent job with all of their meats.
Okay.
And then they also have really good aguas frescas there too.
Nice.
And there is this secret churro spot in the area that I live in, and it's like literally churros out of a garage. And he's been there for 20 years, and him and his family making churros out of his garage.
I think I know what you're talking about. I haven't been to that one, but I've heard of it.
I will get you I have the address for it.
Okay, awesome.
And you can put it in the show notes. But yes, they'll do catering and whatnot, but he is the best.
And is he doing it like original style where there's like a big vat of oil and then he's pumping the
That's right,
dough
in like
into
a little
it? Yeah.
circle, like a spiral, and then he just cuts it up and he asks you if you want it with a lot of sugar or half sugar.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
There's another guy is this in San Jose?
This is in San Jose.
Yeah, so there's another guy in Hayward that does it. He shows up to a Mexican market or it's a Mexican market or Latin market and does the same thing. He has it in a cart, so it's like he has the boiler in the cart, and he has like this. It's kind of crazy. He has this big, like probably 25-gallon drum of dough because it's like almost a garbage can, but not the big garbage, the small one. And then he has this metal tube with handles on it that have been welded to it. And he shoves the dough into the tube, and obviously the tube at the end has the star so that the dough comes out, with the ridges. And he has this wood like post or whatever that pushes the dough through the metal, and out comes the dough, and it spins into a circle.
Yes.
He lets it go into a circle in the fryer, and then you're getting it like right after that, after it's sugar, and it's ridiculous.
There's nothing like it.
And my wife's from Ensenada, and she's like, that is how you make churros. Like that is a churro.
Yes.
That's the way it's supposed to be done.
Yes. The funny thing is that we had churros when we went to Mexico City, but it
wasn't that
not
good.
that good.
That's a bummer. Just didn't find the right one.
No. That's what I would chalk it up to, that we didn't find the right one.
Any other spots?
Let's see. Oh gosh, there's so many.
I know there's a lot here.
Any other foods that you might like that I could recommend?
Japanese.
Oh.
You can also go into any of your favorite other trucks too, besides your own.
Oh, yes.
You could mention a couple of trucks, and then we'll get into Treatbot.
So I would say that we were talking about trucks becoming brick and mortars. There is a truck that was called Curry Up Now, and now they have several brick and mortars.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I saw those guys grow.
And we love their food. And then also
Tiki masala burrito, man.
So good.
It's a love-hate relationship with that thing. That thing's huge. It's really good, though.
Yes. And then, why am I forgetting now? They are like a Korean fusion.
Oh.
And they do the rice burgers with the Korean meat inside.
Yeah.
They have a store now at Valley Fair.
Yes, I know who you're talking about.
Why am I forgetting?
Does it start with a K?
Yes.
We're getting there. We'll come up. I'll look it up while we're talking. But let's get into Treatbot more heavily. I was looking at your flavors, but I kind of want to get into what, is probably everyone was wondering, what I was wondering when I walked into Pedro Square after the pandemic's kind of closing out again, where people can get out again.
Yeah.
And your truck is gone.
Yes.
Your truck. So if you guys don't know, her truck was parked inside San Pedro Square. So San Pedro Square is another old location where there used to be horse and buggy stalls at the location. There's even an old Adobe setup, and then there's a restaurant called SB2 that actually was an old horse stable. And then San Pedro Square has probably 15 different food. There's even a barber shop in there, and there's a lot of different shops. And then your truck was parked right inside. So when you walked right through the door, you could see this gold wrapped truck playing music, serving ice cream and ice cream sandwiches. So tell us, how that all happened. How'd you get the truck in there? And then what happened when you had to pull it out and pivot for that?
Okay. So the business started with a mobile truck.
Right.
And we found an exact not replica, but an exact copy, I guess, or another vehicle that looked just like our original. And before everything was built out in that food hall, we literally had to drag that truck into the spot that it was in. And then I think they broke maybe like 4 or 5 dollies trying to get that thing in there. And it was quite a
feat.
thing.
Yeah.
And then we had to like bolt it to the ground.
Okay.
And the food, the health department didn't know what to do with us. They were like, "Well, you're a food truck, but you're a restaurant," and so a lot of the normal things that they would ask of a restaurant like didn't apply to us, and then a lot of things that applied to a food truck didn't apply to us because we were inside a food hall.
Yeah.
So there were quite a bit of arguments that we heard of that went on in City Hall as far as like how to license us.
Okay.
But we did, get all the licensing done and whatnot. And then I literally, when I wanted to get my license to make ice cream inside, the dairy department didn't know what to do with us either because we were a truck inside of inside of this food hall.
Yeah.
And so they had to tweak a lot of their regulations to allow us to do what we did, and gave us specific parameters of when we could produce our ice cream and whatnot. So we had to comply with that. But we got my big old ice cream machine in there. And then we started producing ice cream starting in 2012.
Yeah. Awesome. And you guys have quite the flavors. I know these are probably more current, but I was just looking at some of them. You can probably go over some of them. You got East Side Horchata, 408. What's the 408?
408 is our caramel ice cream with fudge and Oreo cookies. Yes.
That's all me right there.
Yes. So those are our 2 most popular flavors. And because we are from East Side, we lovingly named the horchata East Side Horchata.
Nice.
And 408 is for where we're from.
Yeah.
Yep.
Zip code. Unicorn Mint.
Unicorn Mint. So we like to play with mint because mint is one of my most nostalgic flavors, favorite flavors as a kid growing up. So instead of just adding regular chocolate chips, we would add M&Ms, which is kind of like a rainbow. So then we called it like unicorn mint because it's like rainbowish and it's colorful.
Super colorful.
Yes.
Nice. Yeah, and then OG vanilla speaks for itself. And then you said cafe, is it Swada?
Cafe Suda.
Suda.
Yes.
What is that one?
That's the Vietnamese coffee. So it's like kind of like the Vietnamese pour over basically.
Oh, okay.
So they have the condensed milk at the bottom of the cup, and then they have the little filter, and then you pour your hot water in there, and then boom, you have like this super punchy coffee drink.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so that you've just kind of fused that flavor into the ice cream.
Yeah, that feeling of like you're getting punched in the mouth with the coffee flavor, and then
super sweet right after.
Yes,
that's really cool. Green tea, chocolate rain. What's chocolate rain?
Chocolate rain is like a chocolate ice cream. So chocolate ice cream with a chocolate ribbon, and then chocolate chips or chunks.
Wow. Halo Halo, you can explain that for
Halo Halo is
folks.
A Filipino dessert. The literal translation into English is mix.
Okay.
So basically what's in there is a mix of tropical fruits and sweetened beans. And then on top is shaved ice, and then evaporated milk, and then there's ice cream on top, and also flan. And so in the Halo Halo ice cream, it has a lot of those elements in it mixed in there with
really
cream.
Cool. And then post-workout, I want to hear about this one. Post-workout, so I got some protein powder in there or what?
So not really, but it was basically one of the guys that worked for me a long time ago. He wanted to start making the ice cream with me, and he liked to work out, and his favorite post-workout shake would be banana with peanut butter.
Ah, very cool.
So he made a banana peanut butter ice cream. So that's basically what that was. It was like bananas with peanut butter and then peanuts also. So
Nice.
that's post-workout.
Post-workout, jackfruit.
Yes. So that is the other scary spiky fruit from Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
I really love it. I think to me it tastes like a cross between a pineapple and mango.
Yum.
And a lot of our Indian customers also really get very excited when they know that we have jackfruit, because that's also a popular fruit in India.
Oh, okay. You're right here on this other one with me, black sesame honey.
Oh, yes, yes. So I love that candy. So I decided to put it into my ice cream. So I used tahini in the ice cream and then black sesame seeds. And then I ribboned some honey in it. Just like, those hard candies that are like with black sesame. So good.
Really good. And is it Ruckerberry? And can you read my writing? Ruckerberry sorbet.
Raspberry sorbet?
Maybe just a berry. Yeah, I'm not. Maybe it's Puckerberry.
Oh, Puckerberry. Yes.
Dave can't read his own writing. Dork.
So Puckerberry sorbet what happened because I had a surplus of lemons, and I wanted to do a lemonade flavor. And so I did. I also did a strawberry sorbet too.
Okay.
So I kind of mixed the two, and so because it was a lemonade, and it was sour, so I called it Puckerberry.
Okay. Nice
sorbet.
Good job, Dave. Any other flavors we should know about?
I think you hit all the Mexican chocolate is a very popular one.
Yeah.
We use abuelita in the chocolate mix.
Ooh, nice.
Yes, to keep it.
And then you also
authentic.
were doing ice cream sandwiches, right?
Yes. We were making our own cookies, when we had the shop before. And yeah, that was pretty popular. And then we also started doing milkshakes as well when we had this.
Yeah, the ice cream sandwiches were awesome.
Oh, thank you.
So let's get into what you're doing now, and kind of give us the situation you're in, and tell us what's coming up and what you guys are working on. And
sure,
you got a lot going on.
So during the pandemic, we had to close down the shop. We couldn't afford to pay the rent anymore because we were not open. So we were like, let's just close up shop. And it was actually very heartbreaking to get the truck out, and neither of my husband and I were there because it was extremely expensive to knock down a wall and try and pull out the truck in one piece.
Yeah.
So we had to literally cut it up and then take it out.
Oh no.
So the gold Treatbot is gone.
Oh, bummer. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
So that is a very sad part of the story.
Sure.
However, and we had to lay off a lot of our employees, and I tried to keep my manager on as long as I could, but then I didn't have work for her anymore.
Yeah, it's tough. San Pedro closed for 6 months or something like that?
At least 6 months.
I mean, that's tough.
To not have revenue and still have to pay rent. It was
Right.
brutal.
Yep.
And the good thing that came out of it was that the manager that I did have, she ended up opening up 2 of her own ice cream shops.
Okay.
So I'm very proud of her, and shout out to Ashley.
Yeah.
So a lot of the things that I taught her and the things that she learned, she, came to me and said, I've been wanting to work for you for a long time. And, my dream is to open up my own shop. So that allowed her to go and, spread her wings and fly and do what she really wanted to do, which is own her own shop.
That's awesome. What's her shop called? We'll put her in there too.
Icicles.
Icicles. Oh,
she
that's
owns
hers?
she owns one of the. It's a branch.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And she owns one in San Francisco, and I think she's running one in San Mateo.
There is one in San Mateo. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think she's running 2.
Yeah. Okay.
Right now.
Awesome. And then what happened? Where'd you go from there?
So after that, after I laid off everyone, went on unemployment basically
Yeah.
for at least a couple of years during the pandemic. And then when things started opening up back again, we still had the truck. So, but we couldn't make our ice cream. So we had to source it for a little while. And then we got up and running again last year in the summer. And then we got tapped last year, I would say in, I think September. August or September last year. And the guy that was running the shop that we're in right now said, "Hey, I'm trying to get out of the ice cream business." You know, he used to have a food truck of his own, and that's how he knew us. And he knew that he could reach out to us.
Oh.
And he said, "Well, yeah, we're trying to, like have somebody run it that, will make some profit."
Yeah. Yeah.
And so he's like, "You've had, all this experience. So, you would be the perfect fit." And we have been wanting to run this spot for a long time prior to that. But other people that were running it weren't interested in letting go at the time.
Yeah.
So we were like, yes. In our heads, we were like, yay. But then inside, like outwardly, we're like, sure, we'll do it. So we did some trial runs. We did some events here in October, and then we did
here in O'Brien's.
Yes, we are in O'Brien's. O'Brien's ice cream, candy and ice cream shop in History Park here in San Jose. And they have a lot of events here, and it's like kind of a hidden gem in my head.
Yeah, for sure.
Because there are a lot of historic homes here. It's free, on the weekdays, and then on the weekends it can get rented out by different associations, and there are festivals here on the weekends and whatnot. So we thought, gosh, this could be great, and when we saw the branding and we found out the history, we're like, let's do it. This is, let's revitalize the brand.
Yeah, and it goes back to 1868, I believe.
1863.
Right? 63, yeah, crazy. And so what are you guys going to do with it? So, here we are sitting here. You guys are looking to kind of brand it and rebrand it and do some remodeling. And why don't you tell us what's in the works for this location?
Right. So we just got the green light from the park directors to do the renovations here. So we'll redo the flooring. We'll do some new wallpaper and paint. We're gonna redo the logos and whatnot, and then have some new furniture outside. To let people know that there's something here. Yeah. Where you can actually eat. Yep. At. So there's that, and then we're building out the kitchen in the back soon. Okay. In the next month. And that's very exciting because I am dying to start making some of those flavors that we were talking about.
Yeah, I can't wait to have them. And when do you expect to open, do you think?
Well, we're open on the weekends right now. And
so so where are you guys at?
We are, Treatbot is usually out and about at some public events or at caterings. And usually I'll post on Instagram, on our Instagram, where we're going to be at. And then on the weekends, we're open here from 11 to 4 on Saturdays, and then 12 to 4 on Sundays. Okay. And then if there's an event here, people are welcome to come. Sometimes the event is free. Sometimes there's an admission fee. Okay. And then you do have to park to pay if you want to pay in a certain spot, but there's plenty of free parking all around as well. Yeah. Okay. And I mean, this place is very, it's got a ton of history. There's a ton of historical buildings around here too. And so, but I mean, as far as the rebranding and everything, when do you think that'll finish and have that kind of set up? I think it all depends on when we'll be done with the renovation. The goal maybe would be in a month or two. Yeah. To really, and then really use the marketing team that we have at Moveable to help us rebrand and whatnot. Because the design studio that we're working with also does marketing for just that purpose, for
That's
rebranding.
really cool. Yeah.
So shout out to John De La Cruz and his crew, who are going to be doing the renovations or helping us with the renovations soon.
And I love the vibe that this place has, and I could see how everyone's going to love it because of where it's at, and we were just talking about how bringing back the old school with the new school, so. Yeah. Old school vibe with the old school shop style, but then you have new school ice cream.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, people love a story, right?
Yeah,
like there's, if there's a backstory, we don't have to make it up. It's here, you know? And so we want to, for lack of better words, capitalize on that.
Yeah. And then so you do have one truck, the red one, right?
Yes.
And that one goes around the city?
Yeah,
what's that one doing?
That one does a lot of catering for a lot of corporate events people here in the valley.
Okay.
And then we also do some of our food truck night markets too, and some of those are going to be wrapping up soon because of the weather.
Yeah.
But there's one on Wednesday nights that's going to continue. It's called the Tully Night Market.
Okay.
So we'll be there through October, and there will be, like makers there. There'll also be some of other food trucks and other, I think, music too. That's not something that we produce, but that's where Treatbot will be at.
Shows up
on the street.
Nice. Mm-hmm. Before we close out, I always ask a couple different things. One of them is your favorite like tool or thing in the kitchen or gear that you love that you use all the time.
Yeah, it's I don't know what you call it, but it's like it's not a ladle. It's like a spider. Is that what you call it? The spider? Like it's like if you have a soup or like you're frying something and you want to like scoop something out, and it has like a
metal mesh net,
yes,
but it's not tight. It's kind of open, kind of like the wok one, right?
Yes.
It's wood. It's got like a bamboo handle.
Pretty
Some of them
much,
do.
Yes.
Okay.
That is my favorite.
Awesome. I think some people do refer to it as a spider, but
yes.
That's a cool one. I like that one.
That is one of my favorite things to use.
Yeah, so I like to ask everyone about that.
I also love using mortar and pestle to make sauces and to crush garlic and crush nuts, whatever, you need to.
Mm-hmm.
It's a different flavor than like if you use a food processor.
Agreed. Any recipe or dish that you think anyone should try? Either something that you make or just something out there that you're like, you need to go try this.
I need to go try this. Gosh.
Putting you on the spot.
I'm gonna say, if you haven't, Filipino food, I'm gonna say, if you haven't had it, have pancit. I love noodles. There are different variations of it, and it's usually like a rice noodle, and then there's it has chicken and some vegetables, and then you sprinkle a little bit of lemon juice on top of it. So pancit is like one of my favorite dishes because I just love noodles in general. And then as far as Vietnamese food, I would say if you're scared to try it, just try it, because I don't think you'll be disappointed. I haven't been disappointed by anything. I think, one thing that I tried that I was not expecting to really like was, it was I don't even know what the name of it is, but it's something that you can get at like some of the any Vietnamese deli. It's snail, and it's and it has lemongrass and ginger flavoring it, and it's cooked inside a banana leaf, and it is amazing. I wish I remember or knew what it was called, but sometimes I just pick things up and I try them. I don't know what they are, but
that's okay.
I can safely say that has been the most surprising and the most amazing thing that I've ever tried.
I think that's what we want people to do, like I need to try that. I've never had that. And sometimes you just don't, you'll get the name from somebody at some point, Shout out to Chef 2, who I've been talking to lately, and he'll probably know what it is. Yeah, trying new things, trying different stuff. So I appreciate you sharing that. And then, to close it up, the floor is yours. You can share anything you want, any advice you want to give, anything. It's all you.
I think if anything, some people ask me or tell me that like, I could never do what you do, I could never, it seems too scary, like, and whatnot. But I mean, I think the bottom line is, like, I think something that we probably all learned is during the pandemic is, if you want to, like, life is short, like, and if you want to do something and you fail, that's okay. At least you said that you tried, and even if you fail, that doesn't mean that it has to be the end, like sometimes failures are the best learning tools for success because you figure out what doesn't work and then you try again. So, I mean, that's happened, like many times for me, like in the business.
Yeah.
Some things worked, some things didn't. Some things I felt, really sad about that they didn't work out. But I tried, and now we're at where we're at. We didn't give up. We didn't just say, I mean, like we thought about it, during the pandemic. But, I have faith and, I have faith in God, and I prayed a lot for God to direct us, like, what should we do? Like when we come out of the pandemic, and a lot of doors just opened, like this place, we were not expecting it. We didn't know where we were going to have a brick and mortar again, if we were going to, and it just materialized. Yeah. And so I felt like, gosh, this is really what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm not supposed to be doing something else, because I thought about it, like, what am I going to do now? Like, so this is where we're at. We're at History Park. It's, like I said, a hidden gem here in San Jose. So look it up, and come visit. It's open. It's free, to come and visit during the weekdays and the weekends. And yeah. What else should I say? I think also too, don't burn your bridges as much as can, like, keep those relationships, with people. Relationships are really important. And I will say this, sometimes it's not what you know, it's who you know, and I think that we have, just like this place, like if we didn't know this guy that had the food truck, he wouldn't have reached out to us and said, hey, do you want to run O'Brien's? And, so we've had many run-ins with people like that, and many opportunities open up because of the relationships that we've kept with people. So I'd say, like, relationships are really, really important, talk to people, talk to strangers, just like kind of what you're doing right now,
Yeah.
Like this is, a passion, for you. So, and now it's taking you to doing this podcast, which is really exciting, and I'm very, very honored to be here. And thank you for inviting me, and just glad to see you again.
For sure. It's crazy where it's taken me, for sure. So 100%. Thank you, everybody. It's been great. It really has taken me all over the place. I mean, now I'm reaching back into, my culinary classmates. Sorry, a little emotional, but it has been a huge passion of mine. I've always been cooking, and it's just one of those things where, when you have your heart into it, you've got to go after it. And, I don't let any of my guests, when you give it advice, a lot of times it is pursue your dreams, and pretty much that's what I'm doing too. So, I appreciate everything you're sharing today, and, thanks for your time, and I appreciate everybody for listening. So on that note, we'll close it out.
All right.
Thanks, everybody. Take care. And as a quick reminder, the restaurants and gear talked about on each episode can be found on my website, foodoriginspodcast.com. I appreciate your support, and thanks for listening.